You're muted. I can't hear you at all. Still can't hear you.
How's that?
Okay, I think that's.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me turn my volume down. I'm going to explain what happened there. I'm going to explain what happened there. So, just so you know, in the audience, I'm going to start over. Essentially, what happened is that this weekend I spent literally an entire day, and to the audience as well, trying to configure the live stream stuff. And part of that getting it to work to have multiple inputs coming in, I had to turn off my current microphone, have it run through a soundboard. And so that's why it wasn't coming through. I should have tested that, but it was working, coming through.
So I was really freaked out for a second. I was like, is my Wi-Fi not good? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's a really good way to kick off an inaugural show. So anyway, let me start over again. So essentially what I basically said is that this is the inaugural edition of the that live Friday night show. It's going to be a loose format, which is obviously what's happening now. And we're going to be talking about themes. And today's theme is going to be, where is Biden? And even though we have seen what happened today, this topic was not chosen today, right, Kyra?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, we had chose this many weeks ago. And to introduce everyone else who hadn't seen the introduction because I couldn't talk, this is Kyra Bowlby. She is a fantastic conservative leader, influencer, and a person who has a good social media presence, and she's trying to do the right things. And she has a cool story to tell, and I want you to follow her by all means, and also check out her interview with us about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. It's done really well on this channel. And so Kyra, tell the audience a little bit about you and how you got started for those who don't know much about what you've been doing with this channel and so forth.
Yeah, so I started my YouTube channel a really long time ago, but I started making YouTube videos and getting more into the conservative movement because I was in high school, and you can watch this in the interview that we did. But I was in high school, and my history professor was hating on America, hated Democrats, he hated Republicans. And I knew I was just kind of sitting in class, and I thought to myself, you know what, if no one else is going to speak up for American or conservative values, then I need to. So that's kind of where I got to where I am now. So I'm really excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. I thank you for coming on here tonight. Right now, it's about 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So I know it's some people just don't sleep. I'm glad that you're one of those. So the theme of the show overall, the blog of the show, the overall narrative of the show is essentially to take the left's illogical ideology and take it to its logical conclusion. Because if you look through culture and look through what they do and the hypocrisy, it's just comical. It's just totally comical. And I have a bunch of memes here that I want to show, and we can talk about these things. And to me, this is a family channel. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad or well, it's not, that's on you if you feel bad. But I'm not trying to be mean and nasty, right? I'm not trying to do that. But at the same time, you almost have to laugh at the stupidity at what they come at you with. And what do you feel about that? Do you see that same thing? Do you think, Kyra, that the left sees the hypocrisy at all?
I don't think they do. I think you look at, I mean, I got into a huge argument with people today, all because I literally commented on Madison Cawthorn's Instagram and said, I want to be more like you. And people started attacking me and saying that I was ugly or stupid. So, no, I don't think the left is seen through their hypocritical views, because if they did, then they wouldn't attack conservative women like me or conservatives in general. According to them, they can be as sexist as much as they want to be, or they can be as racist as humanly possible if it's targeted towards conservatives. If it's targeted towards conservatives, it doesn't count. And people are also not seeing that with Biden. Biden has a record of being a career racist, and they're not seeing that either. So I don't think they'll see through their how hypocritical they are, and I don't think they ever will. Hopefully we can wake them up and let them know, but yeah, it's unfortunate.
I think one of the first times I saw that, and what really opened my eyes, was back when Condoleezza Rice was, what was she, secretary? What was her position?
Secretary of
Anyway,
State.
it was the state.
Yeah.
I think it was state.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Secretary of State. That's correct. So, and there were two derogatory, I guess they were memes, I guess, published by the New York Times and the Washington Post. They republished it. I guess it was a one of those kind of things that they can republish, and it was insanely racist. And I remember Rush Limbaugh brought it up, and I was like, well, yeah, I mean, well, maybe now someone's going to talk about this, and the media was totally silent about it. They made it look like a Sambo image, and they made it look like she had just derogatory to all get up. You can go look it up for yourself. And from that point on, my eyes were really open there. I was like, I can't believe that they aren't talking about her, but I know that if it had been someone else, they would have been talking about it. So, and that to me was one of the things I really, really had disdain for the left. Just blatant racism, and no one ever calls them on it.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. According to them, they can be if it's targeted towards conservatives or people that are conservative or right-leaning, or they don't check any of their boxes, then they don't have any problem bullying you or targeting you or even doxing you. Like, according to the left, they can get away with literally anything, and it's really unfortunate and sad to see.
Now, you've experienced some of that, correct? Recently?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk about? You want to just? I mean, I can see. As far as me coming up, we didn't really have social media like we do now, and so when I was attacked, it was just essentially a one-off. You know, it was done and forgotten. I mean, I've had people chase me down the street, whatever. I mean, not that I was fearful. This old lady, she was mad because they had a McCain sticker on my car. But I mean, that kind of stuff. It was like whatever. Had that been today, it would have been a phone thing taken, and it would have been probably put on Instagram or whatever, and who knows what would happen. So I really have a heart for the current generation and the struggles that you have to go through and are doing, and the fight that you're making. So I applaud you again. I mentioned it before. So thank you so much for doing what you do. So I do want to talk about in terms of Joe Biden, because the big question right here now is, where is the guy? I mean, obviously he's making speeches, but what I'm saying is he's making a speech and he'll not take any questions, or he won't show up. And some people have some conspiracy theories that he's actually not even there. Like this meme right here, like the green screen.
Oh, is that this?
Like that?
Yeah, the green screen. It literally looked like some Hollywood stuff, man. And I'm not a fan of conspiracies, but that was suspicious and a little And then when Biden today fell, I don't know if this was today, but I saw it today. He fell up the stairs going up to Air Force One, fell 3 times. How? I feel like he doesn't even know where he is most of the time.
Yeah. Don Jr. is kind of savage. He posted this right here, and I'm just going to read it because he kind of nails everything about it. He says here that walking is hard. Come on, man. I'm old enough to remember when they mocked Trump for holding a handrail while going down a slippery ramp. I remember that. This clown can't even walk. I'm sure the media will cover this extensively, though, being sarcastic. This is what the world sees. Whether it is his inability to speak and now his inability to walk up the stairs, world leaders and our adversaries are mocking him and America openly and they will take advantage of our weakened state with one in the driver's seat. I'm sorry, with no one in the driver's seat. And that's really what I want to talk about, because I mean, it's not the fact of him falling down a flight of stairs. I can really care less. We're humans, that things happen. Heck, Ford fell down twice in 1 week down a flight of stairs. And they crucified Gerald Ford back then. But the point is, what he's making is not only is it hypocrisy, but is he really? Do you feel that? Let me put it this way: do you feel confident in his leadership in terms of his ability to handle the world in the crisis?
No. And he doesn't even want to talk to world leaders in person because he's scared of COVID-19. Trump, during the COVID-19 pandemic, even when it just started approaching and cases started occurring in the United States, he made it possible to go and speak to world leaders in person because Trump put America first and Biden puts America last. And he literally will just bow to the mob and bow to bureaucrats. And it's just really sad to see. And he really honestly needs to start focusing more on what's happening. Like, Biden, honestly, in my opinion, just doesn't care. And his leadership is already literally the worst president we've ever had in American history. So
already, I mean, within the first 60 days. Yeah,
yep.
There have been some incompetent presidents like Franklin Pierce, but I mean, to his I guess defense, his kid died going to the White House. So I mean, that's one thing. He was drunk the entire time. I get that. There are several presidents that were just not there at the helm, but this guy, I mean, even Obama, at least you had a sense of, well, he's just a person who's just doing what he thinks is right. Biden, it's even worse than that. He's doing what everyone else thinks is right, and he doesn't know anything about what they're trying to do. So let me just jump in here real quickly and say thank you to the people coming on here. Ravens fan 1, thank you for coming, and thank you guys for yelling at me about me not being able to be heard. And Ricky Y, good to see you as well. If you have any questions, email them to me, or just better yet, just shove them in the comments here, and we'll answer those questions when we can. This show's going to run about an hour. I'm not going to try and keep it long, but I do want to have a format that's going to be engaging with the audience and so forth. And so Kyra, I just have a hard time dealing with the left, how they continually just put forth so much stuff and attack us in so many different ways, and they don't expect us to ever come back with any kind of thing whatsoever. I'll say that statement there, and I'll let you answer. Now I'll come back with something else that I saw just a minute ago.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. And the left is they're becoming even more hypocritical now. Like, as I stated before today, I had someone in my DMs actually threaten to dox me and release my address because I said that I looked up to Madison Cawthorn. So the left in general, they're incredibly hypocritical, but by all means, if you agree with their agenda, they won't do anything. And leftism is literally a cult at this point, if I'm being completely honest. And Biden is allowing that to be perpetrated. And it's also unfortunate because he even on live television said President Harris, which is just mind-boggling to me. Like, you're the president, dude. You forgot your job. And then when he was running for president, he said he was running for the Senate. It's just like, I honestly feel like most of the time his mind's just not there, and it's really unfortunate. And I want him to do well as president, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and so that's the thing I want to make sure I'm clear about here is that there's many people who've suffered. I have friends and family who have suffered from. I'm not saying he has this, but every indication appears he has something similar to this in terms of at least what we're seeing symptom-wise. Dementia or any sort of disorder such as that. It's a horrible disease and it's terrible, and we don't wish that on anybody. And my wife talked to me about. She said, what about his wife? And if he is that way, why are you going to put him in this position to do that? And it's like, I don't know. I'm not here to speculate, but come on, man. So anyway, I want to read the story I just saw real quick. I almost rendered this a minute ago, but it was coming downstairs because it was going to be live. But I found the video clip. I'll put it in the description if I can find it again. It's a YouTube guy, and I guess he's a leftist. And he basically was like, guys, look, I know the whole Biden thing is funny and you fell, but that meme with Trump hitting at the golf ball and hitting him in the head, that just isn't right. It's just tacky. It's distasteful.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, what?
It's a
Where have you been
joke.
the past 4.5 years?
Literally
His head
leftists.
being cut off on screen. I mean, his family being insulted, Barron being accosted, his whole family being, talk about distasteful. I just, and the comments in that particular video on YouTube, he's getting blasted. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he should be blasted, because if you look at the treatment of the first family, the past first family, in the former administration, it's insane how much they had to deal with, not just from the mainstream media, but from people in general. I mean, you have rappers who impersonated him getting shot in the head in their music videos. You had people like, you had people after the election holding up severed heads of the president, threatening him and telling him that he should resign. You also had people, you had Antifa who went out on the streets in DC and literally murdered and beat up Trump supporters that were wearing Trump gear. So it's like the amount of just, they're delusional at this point, and it's so disgusting that they even look at that and they're like, oh, this is so bad. But I don't know. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I can't substantiate this report, and you maybe you've heard this, but Barron Trump saw that for the first time in the paper, or saw it on a commercial, or someone in his class gave it to him, whatever, and it terrified him. From the report that I heard, Barron thought his father, you know what I mean? That's horrible. And there was a time, I remember how old I am, Amy Carter, the daughter of Jimmy Carter, how they would say, oh, you can't talk about her, you can't talk about, and there was much to talk about her. And it was just, the kids were just off limits, you know? And I mean, I can see maybe, you know, Junior, okay, he's an adult. But then to go after Barron, who's just a child, I mean, really a child, and then to turn around and juxtapose it and say it's totally horrible to go against Hunter.
Yeah, definitely. And I had a friend who actually worked at the White House under the Trump administration. She was a White House aide, and she was actually in the room right next to Barron. And when that happened, when he saw that, I think he saw that on TV, but he literally screamed, and you could hear him from literally like 5 miles away. He was so distraught. And I personally just believe this, like, in general, as everyone knows, I'm a conservative, but I would never wish ill upon the Obamas. I would never wish ill upon the Bidens. I would never post anything of me holding anything like that. It's just, it's disgusting and it's awful. And I really just wanted to make it clear on both sides that violence, and even joking around about committing violence against someone just because you disagree with them, it's not okay, and it should not be tolerated ever. And the first family should be off limits in general. You should not, that's just not okay.
Yeah, that's even horrible to think about, because our story was a good source, but to hear that you have a firsthand account of it, it's even worse than I even thought. Because kids, I mean, let's face it, I mean, Barron's not stupid. He's like a chess champion from my understanding. He's a really smart kid. And so when his dad became president, the first thing you're thinking is, oh my goodness, he's going to get hurt. You know why? Because you got 10,000 guards all over the place, right? Well, why are they here? Well, because we're really in danger. And to see that his worst fear had to have come to mind, even if it was just a split second, and he'll never get that back. You know what I mean? He'll never get that back. And the person who did that is now crying a victim. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't get a job anymore. Well, whatever, girl. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like, who cares,
really,
girl?
Yeah,
I don't care if you don't get a job. Not my problem. You decided to do that. That was your decision. You wanted attention. And unfortunately, if you don't get a job after that, that's not really my problem or my issue, and you don't have a right to complain.
Absolutely, absolutely right. And you mentioned socialism. I'm gonna. Do you want? Tell the audience who that person was. Mason Madison. You said Madison.
Madison.
The person you admire. I'm sorry. Was it Madison you admired? I forget the last name.
You said you got mocked,
you said that you got mocked because, or you got attacked because you said you admired somebody.
Oh, Yeah, I got Madison. Are you talking about Madison Cawthorn?
There you go.
Yeah. I got attacked. I get attacked a lot for supporting Cawthorn. And I get attacked a lot for supporting Tommy Lahren too. Because a lot of people think she's a fake conservative, and that's like a
Right.
conversation we can have for another time. Um, I personally believe that people should have a right to believe in whatever they want, unless you're hurting someone or actually committing like harm or violence. Then yes, like that's not good, but I genuinely believe that people have a right to believe in whatever they want. I don't think you should impose that or shove that down other people's throats. But I didn't even comment anything that bad. And I always get attacked for supporting Cawthorn. For some reason, leftists really like to make fun of the fact that he's in a wheelchair. They like to make fun of the fact that he's crippled, even though I thought that they were so angry and outraged when Trump made fun of someone who had a disability, yet they're making fun of Madison Cawthorn. It's a little contradictory. But yeah, I was attacked for just commenting that I admired him, and they started attacking him and saying he can't even walk, or they started attacking him and saying things like he never got into a car crash, that was a lie. And it's just like, I don't know, it's crazy the amount of how hypocritical they are is just out of this world, to be
Yeah,
honest.
conservatives can be pretty, especially the ones who are really high on the ideology side, the ideologues. They can really be unforgiving. And I think they gave Tommy kind of a bad break there. And they try and go up the candidates on for some of the same things. But I'll tell you one thing: Tommy Lahren was there. I watched her at election night, 2016. She was the only one in that whole Beck. She was with Glenn Beck that night, who was standing up for Trump. I was like, I don't care, he's gonna win. Like, no, he's not gonna win. He's not gonna win. And they were just dogging her out all night until 10 o'clock. so, I've always had a lot of respect for her. And I respect for any conservatives, because first of all, there's not enough of us anyway. So we need to kind of, come on, seriously. I mean, if you at least don't like the government a little bit, you could be a friend of mine. we can find common ground somewhere.
Yeah,
But
and it's really weird. It's really weird because like she's someone that I've looked up to for years. Like she's one of the people who got me into politics. So I get very overprotective of people who make fun of her. And I was watching a Daily Call interview today about why she's conservative, and all the people in the comment sections were claiming that they're conservative, and then they were literally attacking her for her pro-choice views, which that's a conversation for another time. But I was just disgusted because that's something leftists would do, and we're not leftists.
right,
We shouldn't attack people who disagree with us on an issue. And as someone who, like, I've never met Tommy, but I mean, I've posted stuff about her and she's responded to my posts, and
oh,
she's
well.
always been really respectful and kind, and I really appreciate her for everything she's done. For me, I get really upset with people who attack Tommy and who attack Candace, because I've met Candace personally, and she's given me a lot of great advice for my future career, hopefully, crossing fingers. And I like, those are two people that you don't make fun of around me. I'm sorry, but like, yeah, it's mind-boggling how hateful people can be on both sides. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I remember when Tommy first hit the scene. I mean, she was just like, I mean, it was like everyone was like all over. I mean, it's like she was her monologues, whatever her little things she go off on, and she's like, man, this girl is off the chain. So, and I think she got a bad rap on that. So I really do. And I think hopefully, well, right now it doesn't matter now because we're so messed up now. She's like, she should be like back in the thick of things now, because we need as much as we can get now to help us, because right now this whole narrative with the left is just ridiculous. The media's putting us under. You have the big tech doing their best to suppress us. I'm gonna send you I'm not gonna do it on the air, but I'm gonna send you something that I saw on Facebook. I'm gonna send it to you. It's pretty interesting how it breaks down the various Amazon, Facebook, Google, and it's really interesting, and AT&T and so forth. So it's really interesting. I want you to get your opinion on that before I go live with it. But I brought that all up for a reason. I brought it because I want to bring up this little thing here I saw on socialism, and it paints the picture pretty well. It says, "Stop having a better time, sandcastle, than me." I just found that funny, because to me that's kind of sort of it, right? It's like envy, right?
Yeah. I don't know, like for me, I always laugh at socialism memes. I don't know if your viewers are aware of Young Americans Against Socialism. They produce a lot of really funny content about kind of tackling that narrative of communists and socialists. So I enjoy that kind of content a lot, and it's really interesting to me. So yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, when I first started coming up, this was a place called it was Protest Warrior. It was a group. And this is during the Bush years when the whole Iraq War thing was really heated, and you had the hippies out in the street, banging on drums and stuff. And we had people with I was a young Republican president for our county, and we would do things, events with the young college Republicans here locally. And so we had this big thing going on, and we got threatened and all that cool stuff. Not cool, but you know what I mean. But anyway, they had a group called Protest Warrior, and what they would do was they would infiltrate these big crowds, right? And they would make up these signs saying communism only killed 100 million people. Let's give them a chance, right? These signs look socialist, but have a serious conservative message. And they would go out there and they would see them, and you're like, oh my goodness, the website's still up. You can go see some of the stuff they did out there, but that's kind of the thing I've seen. And sounds like to me that group you're just mentioning to you. Can you mention to me again what that group's called? The Americans Against Socialism? Is that what?
Yeah, it's called Young Americans Against Socialism. The founder and CEO is Morgan Zeggers. She's a young conservative, and she had a story where she had a college roommate, and her college roommate was a communist. And so she had a poster of Marx, Lenin, the works of all the lovely people. and and he was talking to a friend about it, and her friend was just this normal, pretty American girl, came from money, etc. And she really honestly, genuinely believed that communism would help our country and that it would bring us out of poverty. It would do all this stuff. And that's when Morgan decided to create this organization where she talks to people who've survived communism, who've survived socialism. I come from a lot of people who actually came to Ellis Island and fled socialism and communism. So this is genuinely something that I think your viewers should check out, and it's something that everyone should be more aware of, because we definitely need to start reaching our younger generation more, and it's a great organization.
Well, I'm gonna get that information from you. We'll put it in the link, and I'll promote it more, because that to me sounds like something definitely worthwhile. Because we have to get involved, and I'm glad that you met with Candace Owens, because I mean she's been an influence of mine, not directly. I did know Kingface. He was a person who was in that circle. He passed away this past year. I'm gonna do a video on him, a tribute to him at some point, if I can get the get the nerve up to do it, because it's just so upsetting when he passed. We had some plans going on with this channel and everything, and his channel, and helping the community up in New York City, and it just didn't work out. But we need people like a Kingface and Candace Owens, and these people, like, as you mentioned before, these young Americans against socialism. I think I said it right. Because
against socialism, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're good. Yeah, it's called Young Americans Against Socialism, but you're good.
Young Americans Against Socialism. Okay, we'll definitely get that going, and we'll maybe reach out to them as well. Deal with that based out of?
I don't know where they're based out of, because she's from New York City, so she's from upstate New York. But her name's Morgan Zeggers, and you should definitely reach out to her and talk to her and interview her. She's great. But
yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Her organization, she's also a Turning Point USA contributor, and she produces a lot of great articles, and she's great. I think everyone should check her out. So I'm definitely she definitely deserves a shout out. Trust me. Yeah.
Sounds like it. It sounds like she's very courageous. Let me just jump around a little bit. You mentioned to me about a channel called Populist or Pop. Help me out there. It's a Turning Point contributor. That's a great channel, by the way.
Oh, you watched it? You watched Politics?
I did. You talked about it. I put a link in our interview. There's a link to that particular video that you recommended.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love Politics. I watch it every day. Everyone should watch it. It's so good. And it's really important because she actually worked in radio. And so a lot of the time with these leftist organizations, they produce a lot of radio commercials online. And if And a lot of conservatives, unfortunately, think that pop culture is not important, but it is. It's incredibly important. And we need to start like launching our campaigns not just on television but on radio too, because if we stop caring about pop culture and stuff like that, then we can kiss another election goodbye, which is something that she mentioned in her she mentioned it at the Student Action Summit in 2019 with Turning Point USA. She's great. And I think everyone should check her out too, because she's kind of going into a new territory that conservatives don't normally visit. So it's a great show.
And she's got a nice format on YouTube. She's the story format. I guess that's 1080 by 1920. It's like with the black edges on the other side. It's a very unique way of presenting it on YouTube, where everyone's doing the letterbox. And when you see her videos, it's really a smart thing to do, because everyone's got the TikTok thing going. Everyone's got the stories all over the place. It's very, very popular. And to do that in YouTube format, because she can transpose that everywhere else. So it's really smart, artistic, but also practical, because she doesn't have to worry about formatting her stuff. I thought that was pretty brilliant. And no one's doing it. So hats off to her. So that's great. So let me put a question up here, not a question, but a statement. This is from Ravens fan 1. He's been with us for a while, or she. I'm not sure if it's who they are, but they've been around a long time. I guess it's a he. I looked at the picture. So I said the media and celebs would have you believe they are among the country's most intelligent people. Amen to that. We know better. Yet none of them can state the obvious. Joe Biden is senile. Do they know how stupid they look? That's a really good question. Thank you, Ray, statement. So let me bring this question up to you. You're smarter than we are, because you're younger, you're sharper, all this stuff. That's a true statement. I have no problem admitting that. my daughter, who's smart too, maybe a little younger than you. However, she tells me, "Hey, Dad, this is so dumb. I can't believe this." And she's not even really claiming to be conservative. She's just like, whatever. She said, "This is stupid. I didn't know this is dumb." And she said many people in her class know it's dumb. They say stuff, that's hypocritical, knowing it's dumb, but just only to fit in, just so they won't get attacked. Do you feel that same thing too? That it's just a matter of peer pressure that they're going on in this, or are they really not as smart as I think they are?
Yeah, I think a lot of people just try to say more, or like whether it's on social media, they post more leftist things to try and fit in. I had that situation back from October until September, I think. I went through not a good situation. And then I actually joined a sorority in August, and then I had to leave in December because they did not want conservative voices to be in their sorority. So unfortunately, a lot of people are really feeling the peer pressure, because if you show any sign of being a conservative on a college campus, I've had weird, creepy men follow me back to my dorm. I've had people try to break into my dorm in the middle of the night 3 times. I had to actually call the university police to come and check out my dorm, because I was afraid someone was going to come in the middle of the night, and I don't know what they were going to do. They weren't going to come in and say, "Hi, how are you?" and have a debate at like 11 p.m. at night. That's for sure. So I got that involved. And unfortunately, people who aren't outspoken are too afraid to speak up, because, leftists don't want to be friends with people like me. They don't want anything to do with us sometimes. And yeah, so I definitely think people are kind of going more towards the peer pressure, because unfortunately, if you say anything or do anything that's like out of the box of the leftist narrative, then they don't want anything to do with you. So.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why. And I must say, I didn't tell the audience how we got connected, but it was a Facebook request. I think we met that way, and I vetted it to you, whatever. And I wanted to make sure. And I checked out one of your videos. I was like, I just couldn't believe that that's happening today with a person. I mean, that they literally, you can tell the story if you like, but literally moved their chair away from you because they found that you were conservative. I mean, it's almost as if, and Larry Elder just had a video about this. We're going back into segregation. We're going back away from what, I don't want to say ancestors, because we're all Americans, but you know what I'm saying. Black Americans who came from this country on slave ships came so far, went through so much, and white people helped them out too. And guess what, guys? Black people put them in those chain ships too over in Africa. So we're all part of the solution. We're all part of the problem. I'm not trying to put any fingers here. However, you get to a point to where things are going pretty well, and next thing you know, it's almost as if it's all for naught, because now they're trying to push everything away, segregate, have these little zones, little pockets, because of cancel culture or because of identity politics, because we say who you're supposed to be, that's how you're supposed to act and behave, and you can't deviate from that, otherwise you're out of the collective. That's, to me, extremely frustrating. And but did you want to talk about that situation at school with the with people moving their chairs away from you when they found that you were conservative?
Sure. So, yeah, I was a sophomore in high school. It was the 2016 presidential election. We were actually doing a mock election in my class, and everyone else in my class, of course, it was Washington State. So everyone in my class voted for Hillary Clinton. I was the only student who voted for Trump. Now, this was an anonymous mock election, so so you didn't put your name on the vote at all. You just put it in a box, and he would read out the votes to students. So he was so happy that people were voting for Hillary Clinton because, the average, oh, she's a woman, everyone should vote for her. And I looked at someone like Hillary Clinton, and I thought to myself, I don't want this woman to be the next president. I don't want her to be the first female president. She has political experience, but it's bad political experience. And I was always a Trump supporter, so I always really, really liked Trump. But that moment, I knew, I was like, I'm not voting for Hillary just because I'm trying to be friends with these people. So when I voted for Trump, it was anonymous. He didn't know who did it. He was so angry that he literally read it out to the entire class, and he held up the piece of paper and said, "Who voted for Trump?" And I'm sitting in class, and people are just looking around so angrily, as if I just voted for a white supremacist. And I suddenly start raising my hand slowly, and I said, "I voted for Trump." And everyone around me, so people around me, actually moved their chairs away from me. I actually still sometimes hear the chairs squeaking across the floor away from me. And that was when I realized that if no one else in my classroom is going to fight for conservative values, if no one else in my school or my community is going to start fighting for our country and community values and American values and conservatism, I knew I needed to get involved. So it was a very crazy situation for me. And since then, since that experience, I practically lost all of my friends in high school. And I was a sophomore, mind you, so I had 2 more years left of school.
Not cool.
I had to literally deal with that on my own. I didn't have anyone to sit with at lunch. There were literally times where that's what really comforted me was the library. So I started reading more books, and I started I became that student who I didn't have any friends, so I kind of just consulted in books. And whenever we didn't have any classwork to do, I would just be sitting in the back of the classroom reading a book. And that really got me through it. And then my senior year of high school, I moved because the bullying got so bad, and my mom got a job offer, and we moved here. So now I live here in Los Alamos, New Mexico. But it's a situation that every single conservative student like me who dares to speak out and who dares to be outspoken, they go through things like that. And I've gone through worse. And I'm honestly, it's hard, not gonna lie, it's difficult. There are nights where when I was not confident in my beliefs, I would literally sit in my room and cry because of how hard it was. And so it's hard. But from those situations, it's made me stronger. And I actually joined the debate team, and I got to go, I went to nationals once, which was really exciting. I went to a national competition. I joined varsity. My senior year of high school, I tried out for the varsity debate team. You had to try out. And so at my new school, I didn't know anybody, so I joined the debate team. And it was one of the best things I ever did because finally, I felt like I was in a school where people actually liked me and wanted to be around me. I had a situation towards the end of my senior year that was really, really bad because of my conservative beliefs, but it's made me stronger. And sometimes you have to go through rough patches as an activist, and look where I am now. Yeah.
Amen to that. And yeah, I'm not trying to get you in trouble or poke the bear or anything, but to those of you, the classmates who may be watching this right now, you should just left her alone. Maybe she would just be, doing, living a normal life to your approval. But because you, and not just Kyra, I mean, other people, you poke the bear, you poke people like us, and we just get mad. And then because of who we are, we tend to fight through this kind of stuff. And I just hate so much that you had to go through that. But you know what? Like you said, it's just gonna make you stronger and make you tough. And you have to be tough in this market. I mean, personally, I haven't gone through a lot of it, probably because some things on Facebook, I've been doing it for a long time. So people already kind of know me on Facebook and so forth. So, and this channel hasn't expanded that far yet, but one day it will. And when it does, it's coming. So, it's just a matter of holding those principles and being able to stick by them. And again, I commend you so much for that. And to you people, y'all done messed up. Y'all done messed up. I'm telling you that right now, because she's going places. She's absolutely going places, and I'm going to be really excited. It's going to be really exciting watching you go to those places. So let me pull up something here. I don't know what it is. It's a meme that I thought would be interesting to look at. It says here, "Dear Biden administration, it would be a whole lot easier if you just turn the teleprompter around and let us read it. Sincerely, America."
Why?
And I mean, that's kind of borderline, kind of hitting them on that kind of thing. But at the same time, I mean, America is the most powerful country. Well, it's getting to be the second most powerful country in the world, but it's still, it's in balance, the most powerful country in the world. Even if Biden tries to screw it up, we're still going to be there for at least 10, 20 years, and especially militarily. But at some point in time, you're going to have China coming up and doing their thing. To have a person like that at the head of all of it, we have China basically ignoring him, North Korea not answering his calls. You have Russia pretty much challenging him to debates. It's really embarrassing, because especially when you look at Trump, when they say, well, he's making us, actually look at Bush, go back to Bush at W. He's making us hate it around the world. But yet at the same time, and say the same thing about Trump, but they aren't saying anything about Biden. He's doing exactly the same thing, at least 10 times worse. And he's only been there 2 months.
Yep. And he's 2 months and he's already almost destroying our country. And I kind of want to go back to what you said about us being the second most powerful country in the world. I'm praying that in 2024 we have a Republican president. Like, I am praying. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now and trying to speak up and like do this stuff so that I can try and work to get more Republicans elected, because we need more people in Congress. We need more people in the Senate that have an R next to their last name that actually want to fight for America and conservative values and American values. So I'm praying that this is only a one-term thing. I don't even think Biden's going to run again, to be honest. He's not old enough. Well, he's 80 right now, I think. So I don't even think he'll last very long. I mean, that sounds really mean, but he's not qualified to run. Health-wise, he can't really do much of anything. Literally, like, there are people at the White House probably who are slipping him checks or slipping him papers and saying, remember, your name's Joe. Like, it's crazy. So I'm praying that we have more Republicans that are pro-America, pro-conservative values, America First values that run for office in 2024 and 2022. Fingers crossed.
Yes, exactly. Joe Biden, the first day in office, he basically was citing a bunch of executive orders, and they're coming in at like a mile a minute. And he turned around and said, "What am I signing here?" It's like, come on, man. Seriously, that's not the right narrative you want to show, man. I mean, come on. I mean, that's not what you want to be. I don't want to see that. Mute the microphone. Mute it. I don't want to hear that. Because I'm like, oh my goodness, like, whatever. So, and by the way, some details are coming out about the Cuban Missile Crisis, which Kennedy and what happened there. And he was less, according to this particular reporter said he was less competent than we think it was. But I don't want to know about that. Just get us through it. And in terms of us being the second most powerful country, I think we're still a mile away from everyone else in terms of that. But it would take a good 15, 20 years of this constant path to get there, because America is just that great of a country. All right. But we need to have, like you said, people in place to maintain that America first mentality. I have a thing here about the Chinese government. Let me put this up here if I can find it. It's right. If I can find, that's Pelosi. We don't want to hear her. This might be it. It's essentially was the Chinese government posted 2 memes the day he was inaugurated, basically celebrating a Biden presidency. If I can find it, I don't know if this is it. No, this isn't it, but this is just something funny here. This says here, let me be clear. If you make under $40,000, you won't pay a penny more in taxes under my administration. And the New York Post said the Biden tax hike would hit people earning $200,000. White House clarifies. So anyway, that was just funny.
I think.
I'm gonna try to find this. Go ahead.
Why would he brag about that? Oh, if you make this amount of money, you're not gonna survive under my administration. What? Who brags about that? I thought you're supposed to be the president representing the entirety of the country, not just like. And he also, it was really interesting because if you look at the Democratic debates, he constantly talked about how much he hated bureaucrats, and he would always kind of just like say something and then change his mind later. And this is exactly that. Like Biden's tax plan is not even going to help celebrities who voted for him into office. So it's like, why would you brag about that? Like you should not brag about things like that, man. It's just, I saw that tweet actually, and I remember I saw that tweet and I was just thinking to myself, I was like, there's no way he just tweeted that. Someone had to take his phone and tweet that.
Right.
He did. It's just mind-boggling.
Yes. I was going to say something about Joe Biden. I can't remember now, but it's what it was. Joe Biden essentially is a bureaucrat, right? So I'm saying this in the nicest terms. He's a dinosaur. I'm not saying it in a negative term. Just he's old. He's been there for a long time. They're bureaucrats. If the wind changes, they change. I've been involved in politics. I was in D.C. for many, many years. I worked on the Hill for many years. My parents had a business. I was able to work in a lot of those buildings, the Rayburn, the Cannon, the Longworth, all those guys. But they're all bureaucrats, and they just take a poll. They take a survey and go off on that. I mean, Bill Clinton was famous about these, what do you call them? They're not straw polls. They're called something when you get people together and you say, take a topic, and then whatever the people say, you go with that policy because you think it's going to be a popular thing to go on. And so what Joe Biden is essentially he's doing is that he's essentially just going off on this old makeup of how he is as a politician, but because he's not there mentally, he can't keep it all together. And because he has the people around him, the radical side of his party, basically influencing him one way or the other, he doesn't have the wherewithal to do it. I know Joe Biden is not that kind of person. I mean, he's not that kind of left-wing socialist radical. He was never that way. In fact, he was pro-gun, he was pro-military, he was all this. He was just spending tax and spending liberal. But at the same time, he was still the kind of person I could roll with if need be. It's better than Hillary Clinton, for instance. If you take away all of his corruption allegations, of course. I will put that in there. So that's, I think, what's going on with Biden. And to your point, he just isn't there mentally, and he just isn't able to do the job. And what even worse is a person waiting in the wings. I don't think it's much better.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and it's really sad to see. And I don't wish anything ill upon him and his family. It's actually really sad that his family's allowing him to go through this, because the Democratic Party is literally just using him as a puppet. That's literally what they're doing. Like the radical left, they're using Joe Biden as a puppet to push their radical agenda forward. Like, why do you think all that fake ballot harvesting happened? Like, why do you think all that fraud occurred during the election? Because most people, even Democrats, were going to vote for Joe Biden. They didn't like him. A lot of people kind of just looked at him as, oh, well, he's not Trump. Trump tweets things to hurt my feelings, so I'm just going to vote for the career racist who thinks minorities are stupid, and who thinks that people can't use a computer or register to vote.
Right.
I don't think he's far left, but I do agree with you. I think that the radical Democrats in the Democratic Party are literally using him as a puppet, and it's really sad to see. And I agree. I disagree with everything he has to say, but I do genuinely hope, and I hope 100% that he does well for our country and that he pulls through. But right now, I'm not seeing that, and I hope that he can kind of get stuff done. Yeah,
and that's interesting how you have conservatives hoping he does well, but you never really saw that with Trump. You saw some of that in the very, very beginning. Some conservatives, some liberals would come out and say, or some moderates would say, we hope he does well. I know Dave Chappelle did that early on, and a few others. But for the most part, it was like hate, whatever. And most conservatives were just upset the way the election went. So it's bitterness, not necessarily of him being in there, but how he got there. And we're not even going to get into that. All right. But I have a question for you, or a statement from you from Ravens fan. I'm going to put up here on the screen here. It's pretty interesting. I'm curious to know if you know anything about this. This is more of, I guess, a personal thing, but since Los Alamos, I'm Pennsylvanian, but OMG, I love the 505. Did you ever get lunch at, don't know what that is, Factory, and don't know where that is? Or don't know what that is either on a cold day. Anyway, glad they were nicer to you.
I mean, they weren't necessarily nicer, but it was a better environment. But no, I've never had lunch there, unfortunately. But I do love Pewaukee. It's a beautiful drive to get to that area, and they also have really good restaurants there. So if anyone ever wants to go to New Mexico, you should definitely go to Pewaukee, or you should go to Los Alamos, or New Mexico is just a beautiful state in general. But yeah, unfortunately I haven't, but maybe in the future I'll go and get that. So thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, I was I'm not sure if we were in Los Alamos or not, but we were in New Mexico, and we drove through this past summer during the lockdowns, which is really interesting, by the way. That's another side story. Because you think, and this is, I'm on a tangent here a little bit, sorry, but it's interesting. So in the middle of the summer, right after, about a month after Floyd, the country was in panic mode. We were worried about going across I-40 and having us being stopped by an Antifa mob, whatever. Those kind of thoughts in our head, whatever. But everywhere we went across the country, everyone had masks on. It was not a microcosm. It was all over the place, man. And some places were worse than others. And in New Mexico, we actually got kicked out of a restaurant for not wearing our masks. And so, but for the most part, in New Mexico, like I was telling you before, people stopped me on the side at a gas station. Some Hispanics or some Latinos came over to me and said, "Yo, man, we love your hat, whatever. We love Trump, whatever, 2020, and this and that." Got a lot of love all across the country, man. And New Mexico, like you said, is a very, very beautiful place, and I'm looking forward to getting back there.
Yeah, it's definitely more. So, of course, yes, New Mexico did vote for Biden in the 2020 election. I wasn't shocked that Biden won my state, but honestly, New Mexico is more purple. And I mean, there's a lot of people who come up to me and talk to me about politics, but they're like more quiet about it. But in New Mexico, the people are a lot nicer than Washington State. No hate to anyone in this live stream that, like, if you're from Washington State, I'm not hating on you at all. I just didn't like that place as a state because it was just not a good environment for me to be in, or for me to flourish in, or for my family. Honestly, because it's really dark and it's just not good. But yeah, New Mexico is a beautiful state, and there are a lot more conservatives in New Mexico than they will tell you, but they are definitely more of the silent majority. But I hope we get louder.
What was interesting about New Mexico is when we were prior to the election, I was going through all the analysis and whatever, my videos and so forth, making predictions of different states. And New Mexico was never really in play. It's like one of those nice to haves. If Trump really had a big showing, Mexico would be in play. But if the bellwethers around the country didn't fall our way, then New Mexico was out of play because it just wouldn't happen. But Trump won all the bellwethers. And so New Mexico was definitely in play, especially when you're dealing with the whole oil thing, that the fracking thing that Joe Biden was bringing up, which I didn't realize was such a big factor in New Mexico. So I just have a bitter about the whole election in general. So I don't want to dwell on that, but so let's see if we can find another meme here. We've been going for about an hour here. I don't want to keep us too long being the inaugural show. We kind of went off format a bunch, but I think we covered just about everything. How do you think it's going so far on your side?
I think it's going well. Yeah, I think it went great.
Yeah, I'm going to put this up here. This isn't applicable to this particularly, but I spent a lot of time on this. I mean, hours and hours to get this thing to work. And so we got a live test where we can actually take live calls. And because I don't want to do 1-800 numbers or that kind of thing, Discord is a really cool service. It's free. And all you got to do is basically log on to it. And once you do that, we'll put you where you need to go. We'll give you a link and you go up there and then we'll navigate you through. So if you want to check it out, go to the community tab on YouTube or go to that link there. It'll take you there. I got a couple of videos there to show you how that works. So I'm going to promote this a little bit before we do it live because I don't want people to say, what the heck are you doing, man? This is ridiculous. But I'm not the only one that does this. Like big YouTubers do this. One guy named Nick Ninman, he's got a huge channel, 800,000 subscribers. He does this. So if he can do it, I can do it. That's where I got the idea from. So there's that. Yeah. Well, cool. So let me show if I can find one more in here that's up here. There's no more questions in here, I don't think. And all of these are tasteful, I think. I mean, what's this one here? This one here says, oh yeah. Yeah, my poll numbers have fallen so much, I think I'll take credit for all the stuff they're accusing President Trump of. You know, that's kind of a good way to leave it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think he even took credit for the vaccine too, which like yeah. When he took credit for the vaccine, my dad just got his vaccine, by the way, and my dad was sitting there and he was like, yo, I just got my vaccine. You weren't even in office. You weren't doing nothing. You were campaigning in your basement, Biden. I don't know why I did a Southern accent. Sorry, my dad's not Southern. But yeah, it was just like really interesting. And I was talking to my dad about it, and I was talking to my mom about it, who's a scientist. She's in the science field, and she was like, why is he taking credit for the vaccine? He shouldn't. He wasn't even in office. He wasn't even doing anything. In fact, he was sitting in his basement campaigning and talking to the mainstream media. So it's like he needs to stop taking credit for the stuff that Trump did. I mean, I don't really remember, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I don't remember Trump doing that unless he did. I don't know, but it's not something that he should be doing.
Well, Trump was pretty transparent. I mean, he would pretty much tell you what's up, you know. I mean, he would tell you what's up. I mean, he was almost too honest, right? I mean, we never heard a president that was just like, whatever, I don't care. You know, it's like, whatever, you know. It's like, dude, I mean, that's getting back to the whole tweeting thing. He did that for survival. Yes. If the media treated him well, he wouldn't have had to do all that stuff.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. So, but Biden, man, you know, the whole vaccine thing, you know, and taking credit for other things, and we saw the whole thing with Obama. It was blame Bush for 2 years. I mean, everything was blame Bush, and I'm not a big fan of Bush. I'm not a big fan of W now, but I'll defend him to the points that he was right on, and it's so typical or predictable, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's honestly just like what you would expect from Democrats, though. They don't really ever take credit for any wrongdoings or anything like that. They mostly just blame Republicans for everything under the sun, and they really need to stop doing that. Like, people think that conservatives are dividing the country. No, it's Democrats, because they think their party's almighty and good and perfect. And they never talk about any of the wrongdoings that's occurring in their party, or the corruption that's happening within their party. And that needs to stop. Like, it's crazy, honestly.
There's a book out. It's an old book. It's called Dummy Cons. It's about no, it's Donkey Cons. Donkey Cons. It's maybe out of print now, but that's a good book talking about the corruption of the Democrat Party, and it goes into their philosophy, their worldview, which we don't have time to get into, and how their lust for power and just the socialist humanist mindset it just invites that sort of thing. And so that's what we're seeing. And so what this is a pattern. Take California, take Venezuela, take New York, take anywhere, take Cuba, anywhere. Take NBA, dare I say the NFL, dare I say anything, take Star Wars, anything that's good and holy. Star Wars, no, Star Wars isn't holy. I'm, you know what I'm saying. Word of mouth, word of saying. Anything that's worth anything is going to be attacked by them, because you know what? Either they don't like it, or they can see an opportunity that they can go in, infiltrate it, screw it up, and then get out and move on somewhere else. They're like a virus, because I can speak to Star Wars. Like I said, I love Darth Vader, I love Star Wars, and I love all that stuff, but they just basically destroyed the franchise for whatever reason. You can go on my channel and look, or anywhere else you want to look. They don't care about Star Wars. They don't care about any of that stuff. They want to go in there. They don't like something. They want to go in there, infiltrate it, mess it up, and then walk away, and then let it die on the vine. And that's what we're saying all across the board. You name anything whatsoever, DC, the ghettos, anywhere you want to look at it, that's what they do. And until we can recognize that mindset and that worldview, how destructive it is, we'll never get anywhere.
Yep. That's why I love Kimberly Klacik, who ran in 2020, actually, and she was really fighting back against the destruction of what's going on in African American neighborhoods. And she really fought and said, you know, my candidate has been in office for so many years, but I think I can do something different. And I'm really happy that more Republicans are standing up and speaking out. And I'm hoping that when I run for office, hopefully, I can do the same thing, and I can challenge the narrative. And we really need to get up and have more people that are going to speak up and do more things. So, yeah, it's
if you're going to do that, let me know, because my wife wants to move immediately. So she wants to move out west anyway. So I can come help your campaign. So
yeah, thank you.
I mean, all we need is an excuse. we're out. Let me end this real quickly. Unless you want to keep going, I can. But I wanted to say something real quickly about Kingface. If you're not familiar who he is, he was an activist. He was a former gang member and all this stuff. He had a 9/11 moment, and he became just a radical right in your face. F-bomb this, F-bomb that. I don't give a, you know what? And he didn't care, but he was extremely smart, and he was in their face. And I did a series on him. I only got to 2. The time he passed away, I couldn't get to the 3rd. I may still do it, where he's debating a guy named Brother Jabari. And this guy is like an intellectual Egyptologist, goes to Egypt, and he's all the African stuff, the Black Fist stuff, woohoo. And he knows all about all that stuff, you know. And I was involved in that in college too. So I understand Egyptology, I understand all that stuff, So you would think he was overmatched, because this is just a street guy, right? He basically ripped him a new one. And I took because I watched this video on YouTube, and I was just so livid that he was using all these liberal tactics of debate. And you get yourself, because you're a debate person, you know. And I identified the 10 ways that he tried to get him, and the 5 ways that Kingface destroyed him. And basically, to your point, he basically was talking about the whole thing with the tearing down the Black community, of Black Wall Street. Yeah, I think it's Oklahoma, I believe, how they came in and destroyed it. And his arguments was just so compelling. I encourage you guys to watch that, and because there's really no excuse. And you brought up Kim Klacik, who's another one who's basically in that same mold. And there's just no argument that they have against that. If I would debate someone who's a liberal, who's talking about that, if I bring up the Black community and the plight there, I win every single time. I'm like undefeated. Like I'm like 1,001 and 0 on that, because there's just no defense to it. And all they can say is, well, man, you're just Uncle Tom. You saw it, man. Come on, man. Okay, man. Whatever. Peace out. So
yeah, I don't know. I get really, it's really interesting because I talk to people who are African American and liberal, and they support Black Lives Matter, which in reality, Black Lives Matter supports Planned Parenthood. And who was the founder of Planned Parenthood? Someone who loved the KKK and who spoke at Klan rallies. And also, like, over 800 plus babies are aborted by Planned Parenthood on the daily. So people kind of need to check, or if you can't claim that you're standing up against racism and then talk about things like Planned Parenthood and be like, if I want to get an abortion, I'll get one. Or, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't support Black Lives Matter. Like, I don't support Black Lives Matter because it's a Marxist organization that just is not helping the Black community, in my opinion. And it's just really unfortunate. And I hope people do their research on Planned Parenthood, because the founder, not a good person.
Yeah. My wife actually does activism in that area, and I do too. I was actually born on the anniversary of Roe versus Wade, so I have axe to grind anyway. So, but yeah, I can't agree more, Kyra. I really can't, and I'm glad that we see eye to eye, and most conservatives see eye to eye on the principle stuff. And people going after other conservatives, I mean, it's easy to pick on like a Ben Shapiro. It's easy to pick on a Tommy Lahren. It's easy to pick on a Candace Owens, or pick on even a Donald Trump. He's not a true conservative. He's not a true conservative. I mean, come on, man. See, I'm about to get on it right now. We need to come together because we have core principles that we all agree on. We love this country and we like limited government. That should be that should be all we need. I don't care, if you have a policy here that I don't agree with, because whatever, it doesn't matter. If there's a tree in the middle of the road that the government's trying to tear down, I don't care if the radical left-wing atheist comes in and says that tree is sacred and we're going to save it. Okay, well, I think it's private property and we should save it. Who cares? We're saving the tree. All right, there's common ground you can come to at some point, and I think it's ridiculous to have this infighting, especially when we're outnumbered right now, especially with the media and big tech.
Yeah, and I think also just one thing that I would want to just mention to everyone is, don't be rude to someone who disagrees with you. Have a conversation. Don't resort to insults and stuff about someone's physical appearance. It's not okay. Like, have a conversation. And if you aren't really capable enough to have that conversation, I promise you don't have to talk. You don't have to talk to someone who disagrees with you that's just going to resort to insults and things like that. And I really just want to encourage conservatives to be there for each other. I'm a part of really awesome organizations, like Turning Point USA is incredible. When I was going through all that in high school, Turning Point USA did everything in their power to try and give students like me a voice. So I just really want to encourage people to try and look at both sides and try to have conversations with people, even those on our side that disagree with us, or even with people on the left. Just try to be respectful and kind. I mean, at the end of the day, conservatives, we just need to stick together.
Yeah, and let me bring up this thing here. I guess this is a troll here. I don't care. I'm gonna answer this. It's the first time answering a troll on this. This guy here says, from Star Wars to ghettos, how does that connect again? And he says, Brother Jabroni. I don't know if you're calling me that or whatever, but I'm gonna tell you how it connects and why it connects, because I don't just say stuff just to be talking. What I'm saying, Mr. Manuel, I guess, what I'm trying to say simply is this: is that the left doesn't care what it is. They go after the things that they don't like, and they try to infiltrate it for their own power base. If they go into Star Wars or NBA or football or anything they want to go after, the inner city, from there's money everywhere. Is what I'm trying to say. It's about the money. It's about the power. It's about the influence. If they take anything that's popular that they don't like, they'll make up an excuse for it. They'll find two people that hate it. They'll piggyback on them and say, "Hey, we'll help you out, man. You hate that? Yeah, we'll support you." Same thing with the Black community, man. They find a few people who are upset, and then they jump on that bandwagon and then support them, and then leave them after it's all said and done, after they run off with all the money, and leave them holding the bag with a corrupt product, which is why you had the governor of California recalled back in the about 2000s, and it's getting recalled again, which is why Arnold Schwarzenegger came in there, was because they screwed California up, which is the reason why New Jersey got their governor. Same reason why Rudy Giuliani went into New York to clean up the mess there. Every time you need something done, you get a Republican to fix your crap. All right, that's what it's about. Yep. So that's why, Mr. Manuel, that's why it relates.
Agree. Yeah. And another thing I want to mention is on the left, have you ever noticed how miserable and like just downright miserable people are who are on the left? Like they genuinely believe and they feed off of being victims. And the Democratic Party for years has tried to make people like me, I'm a woman, they've tried to make people like me feel like we should be a victim. And I don't see myself like that at all. I think that I think there's no better place in the world to be a woman. And they also do that to people of different minority groups, and they go after people of different races, and they really want people to be victims. And if you're not a victim, and if you're not on the left, and that's not how, you feel about yourself, they always want Republicans to clean up their mess. Like if you look at the Republican Party, and if you look at the Democratic Party, who's happier in America? Like it's literally also a quote. There's a quote that Ronald Reagan did a really long time ago, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher it, so I apologize if I do, but it's basically Democrats treat every single day like it's tax day, like you have to file your taxes, and Republicans genuinely believe that every single day it's like the 4th of July. So it's completely different. Like Democrats want you to be miserable. They want you to feel like you have to depend on the government. They depend on the government like it's their God. Unfortunately, they look at it as a religion. And then if an election doesn't go their way, then they feel like everything in the world is against them. And Republicans, we kind of just move on. We move forward. We're happy to be here in America. And it's just really unfortunate. So it's so crazy to me because every single time this happens, Republicans always try to fix the mess, time and time again.
Yeah, on a rant there, and I'm glad you were able to say more eloquently. I was able to. I got a little hot on the collar there, and I'm and no disrespect to Manuel, that may have been a valid question. You may not have been ill will in there, because that is a fair question. I will say that was a very fair question, and I may not be clear in my statements, but I'm glad I was able to clarify. At least I hope I was able to. So I apologize if I felt I was coming across on you, but it's just one of these things. I think one of the things that I have to ask forgiveness for is that we get attacked so much. And you may speak to this yourself. We talked about this a little bit before. I personally, but we as conservatives get attacked so much. I was defending Trump on a daily, hourly basis. And even when I knew Trump was wrong, or I felt he was wrong, I didn't care. Number one, I'm not giving him satisfaction. And number two, didn't you see what happened with Bush and blah, 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 blah? Or what happened last week with this person here? What happened? I'm not playing that game. So to me, I have to calm myself because I need to stop being as defensive as I am typically. But it goes off, man. It goes from like 0 to 60, right? So, like I said before, I admire you, and I can ask you a question generally about how you were able to do that in such a calm, passive, and loving way, despite the fact that you've been treated. And I will dare say this, and this may be unfair to my parents, but the stories you've told me are, I won't say as bad because you haven't been spit on, I don't think. I'm not going to compare that, but you've been mistreated very, very poorly, way worse than I've ever been treated. So to do that and still be able to have the attitude you have, I think it's very commendable.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I hope people can kind of look at someone like me, because I don't have a following at all. I'm mostly just doing this because I love my country and I want to stand up for what I believe in, but I always try and live every single day like Jesus. Like sometimes I go through situations and I'm like, how would Jesus look at this? How would he get through it? Or there's also something that's really interesting. If you read scripture, and if people in here aren't religious, totally fine, not judging you or anything like that, not shoving my beliefs down your throat. But I do live my life I do try my best. I mean, we're not perfect, but I do try to live my life like how Jesus would. And I try to live every day to be the best Christian I can possibly be. And so there was a saying that someone recently said, as Christians, like, we're going to be hated for our beliefs. Like, we're going to be discriminated against. People are going to throw like prejudice towards us. And what we are supposed to do as Christians, as stated in scripture, is we are supposed to change. We're supposed to kind of change the world in this life and prepare ourselves for the next life. So at the end of the day, like, I don't really care about trolls and stuff like that. I'm doing this because I see what's happening in our country right now, and it's not what God would intend for. I mean, look at the Grammys, for example. So that's kind of what I want to get at. And I always just try to look at my opposition as, like, I grew up in such liberal areas that I always try to look at my opposition in a way that's kind, and I try to understand them. And I disagree with my opposition on everything pretty much, but I do try to have those conversations, and it is important. But yeah, I do try to look at things as more of a Christian like form, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And no, you don't mind. I mean, most of my people on here, either if they're not Christians, they are definitely they have sensibilities towards that, so it's not a problem. And I'm a believer as well. I don't this is not a evangelical channel, even though I will not hesitate from saying anything evangelical on the channel. It just isn't the primary focus. My lifestyle should be what's doing it, but I need to work on that. The verse I like is I think it's John 15:18. And basically, if I paraphrase Jesus saying, if don't worry about it. Well, don't worry about it. But he said, basically, if they hate you, they hated me first. That they basically hate me. And if you're living for me, then obviously they're going to hate you too. So I love that verse because it really kind of, like you just said, it brings things back into perspective. It's not all about me, right? There's a lot of times we do internalize stuff, right? And I admit I'm faulty in that area, right? I take things a little bit too close to because I'm very defensive of things I love, my family, my country, my friends, and that's like what I wasn't always a Democrat. I mean, I wasn't always a Republican, right? I was growing up in DC area, and it was different times, right? And back then, this was like someone looked at you wrong, it's time to scrap, right? So it's still that kind of dumb, silly mentality, but it's something that I have to work on. But I do admire people who have the ability to see things for what they are, because what it ends up doing for you is it gives you way more credibility. It brings you way above the fray. It doesn't make you feel like trash after the fact because you handle it the right way. It may mean that you internalize things more differently, but at least you can live with yourself and know that you did the right thing instead of have to regret that you just told someone off that you shouldn't have done that because you feel like it was a heat of the moment kind of thing. So there are reasons why he tells us to do that, so that we don't have these spirals of hatred that make other things happen as well.
Yeah, and there's also that saying as well, like, love thy neighbor. I also take that into my life every day. So I may look at people. There are people who are different than me. I mean, we were all made in God's creation. Like, he all created us in a way that's like, we're all supposed to be different, and that's totally fine. But I always just try to look at that as well. Like, love thy neighbor, be respectful to people who may not agree with you, be respectful to people around you, and always try to be the best person you can be. And that's what I was taught by my parents. My parents taught me that, but I also kind of learned that myself from spending so many hours reading the Bible. And yeah, it's just something that I live by.
What's your favorite book of the Bible? Just out of curiosity. Do you have a favorite book or a favorite passage or a favorite? I'm going somewhere with this, by the way.
I love Matthew. I love Proverbs. I love Psalm. It's not Palm, by the way, Joe Biden. I love Psalms, and I also love, I'm trying to think. Yeah, those are all the books I love. I'm kind of forgetting one right now, but I'll probably remember it when I open my Bible back up tonight before bed, because I try to read it every morning and every night before bed, because it just kind of gives me clarity before I shut my eyes for the night. But yeah.
Yeah, the reason why I ask that is because you can kind of get someone's relationship with what they are in their life is by what books they in the Bible. I mean, what they like. For instance, for me, all those books are fantastic. Proverbs really is kind of cool with me because I think it's got 30 different chapters in it, I believe. And I know that because in the high school, I went to Christian high school, our PE teacher read us a chapter every day for a month, and I remember that. So, and that's also got a lot of wisdom in that book. But to me, it's John in basically showing the deity of Christ, and without any sort of, he said in 14:6, "I am the way, the truth, the life. No man come to the Father but by me." That's a bold statement. It's like there is no other way, and it's like that is my favorite verse because it's just like, what I mean, it's like mic drop. That to me is the mic drop of the Bible to me because it's like he's saying, "Look, that's it," and that's kind of my mentality too going forward. But at the same time, I think it's not just about that bravado, right? It's about love and passion because he had compassion for people, and I think Christians have to have compassion. And you mentioned Psalms and Proverbs and Matthew, and Matthew basically is a letter to the Jews saying, yes, he is the Messiah, because it used the lineage through Matthew. I believe it was Matthew, I believe. And so those books are about the love of what God has. It's not like you didn't say First Kings or you didn't say like the First Chronicles or whatever. Some of those books that were dealing with some of the Old Testament laws and stuff like that. But and I think that's where we need to be as Christians and as conservatives, because ultimately our worldview needs to translate into our culture. And I'm glad that Daily Wire is trying to do the same thing, and I hope we can get more of that because if we just do the same thing that they're doing, we're just going to be in a different way. We're going to be maybe we'll be right on a principle standpoint, or maybe be right on a policy standpoint, but we're not going to do it with any kind of love or affection. So that's kind of where I was trying to go with that.
Yeah, I understand. So,
all right. Well, it's been here about an hour and a half. Thank you for coming on again. And you want to tell everyone where they can find you and engage?
Yeah, so I actually just posted a new YouTube video, so you guys can go hop over to my YouTube channel and watch it. I made a video about cancel culture. My YouTube channel is called Kyra Bowlby. You can also follow me on Parler. My Parler is at Kyra Bowlby. My Telegram is Kyra Marion Carol Bowlby. My Facebook page is Kyra Marion Carol Bowlby as well. You can follow me on Instagram at the Kyra Bowlby and at real Kyra Bowlby. I made 2 accounts in case Instagram tries to delete me again. But yeah, those are all the places that you can find me, and I work really hard on the content that I put out, so it would really mean a lot to me, and I would love for more people to see it, hopefully. Crossing fingers.
Subscribe to our channel. And if you're if you're not if you're impatient, you can go over to the video that we did, the interview, about 2 videos back, and inside there all those links will be there right now. But I got to take this and put those in this video. It's going to be a few minutes before I can do that. But for now, if you want to do that, jump over to that particular interview, and you'll see the comments in there, and you'll see the actual links that she's attached to. And go subscribe to her channel. By the way, I got to ask you this question. Your introduction is really cool. Did you do that, or who helped you with that introduction that you have for your channel?
My dad. Yeah, he helped me out with that. It was really sweet of him. We went to a beautiful area in my town and filmed that with the mountains in the background, and it's a beautiful introduction. We kind of tweaked. I would definitely ask you to watch my new video that I posted. We kind of tweaked the introduction a little bit, and the stuff that he does with my videos is just insane and incredible. So please go watch my new video and just go stay up to date with what I'm doing on social media, and I'm hoping to reach more of a bigger audience. We'll see.
Well, you're welcome back here anytime you want, and I'll promote you as much as possible. And one of the things that interests me was that introduction and how most people's their first few videos aren't very good. Your first videos were really good. And I was like, wow. It's like you don't usually see really good videos the first time out, or at least they've done it before, had a new channel. But so it's awesome. So yeah, I'll check that out right after this right here. I'll check it out. I'll even do a comment and see if I can promote it on my live stream on Sunday night as well. So
yeah.
Okay, so if there's anything else you got to say, we're gonna maybe pull this together, and I'll close it out.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And anytime you want me to come back on, let me know.
I will do. And I'm sure the audience likes you as well, because I get a lot of positive comments about you. So,
Oh, really?
so
Yes.
yeah. Oh, I gotta say this. I would be remiss. I was thinking that about the whole time, but your outfit is awesome. Very patriotic. So it's cool. So it's cool. All right. So, well, with that being said, everybody, my name is Kyle, and this is the Conservative Take. This is our first stab at a live Friday night show, and just to give it a try. You know, you never know what's going to happen with it. Who knows? It could it could die today. It can go further and beyond. So I don't know. I just knew I just had to have Kyra back on because she's such a dynamic young lady, as you know. Go check out her channel. Go to the interview video right now and go follow her right now. It'll be about 20 minutes before I can get this posted on this site here to do that. So, but you can go over there right now and get that. And while you're at it, go ahead and watch her videos as well. And so, thanks to you so much, everybody. And I will check you guys out next time.